What up, fam? Daily Thoughts, episode 75. And on today's episode, I want to talk about breathing. Now, what do you think is the most underrated tool we have as a species? And if you're clever, you already picked up on it in what today's episode's about. That's right, guys. It's breathing. If you guessed breathing, well, good on you. Even though I gave you a clue in the title of today's episode, but good on you. So breathing is the most underrated tool we have as a species. We do it subconsciously. We don't need to think about breathing. The only time we really think about breathing is when we're holding our breath, when we're in a pool or somewhere where we're holding our breath and then our brain needs to tell ourselves to breathe. Other than that, subconsciously, we breathe every single day. And I know what you may be thinking of breathing. How's breathing an underrated tool? Well, let me explain. So, breathing properly and doing proper breathing protocols, deep breathing, nasal breathing, can have so many benefits. I'll just name some benefits and then I'll talk about some other things. So, through certain deep breathing exercises or nasal breathing, because we're not meant to breathe from the mouth. There's certain times that we need to breathe from the mouth, like when we're talking, and other times they can be helpful and useful in exercising that at certain times. But nasal breathing is really the way we're meant to breathe, and it can have so many benefits if you practice nasal breathing and deep breathing. So what can nasal breathing and deep breathing do? And why is it an underrated tool? Well, it relieves emotional stress and anxiety. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but if you ever feel stressful or anxious, just take a deep breath. Take 5 deep breaths in. There's a technique called box breathing. There's a whole heap of techniques. There's not just one type of technique, so you guys can look them up. And you'll see, if you ever feel stressful or you ever feel anxious, next time, do one of these techniques. Well, I'll give you an example, the box breathing. Breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and then repeat that cycle. And you watch within the first minute or so of doing this, you watch how much better you feel. You watch your stress come down. You watch your anxious feelings start to go away. This is why it's the most underrated tool. So on top of that, it improves your mood. It improves symptoms of depression. It improves your focus. It increases energy. It improves your heart function. These are just to name a few too, guys. It can help with pain. Yes, that's right. It can help with pain. One study has shown that 70% of people that suffered from back pain by deep breathing helped them relieve some of that pain by up to 50%. Yes, how crazy is that? That's why it's one of the most underrated tools, if not the most underrated tool. I think it is the most underrated tool that we have because, like I said, it's something we do subconsciously. And also, it can help manage addictions. So when you feel like just say you have an addiction to food or smoking or something like that, well, whatever your addiction is, just breathing, deep breathing, or different types of techniques of breathing, nasal breathing, can not stop, but it can help with those addictions. When you feel the urge for, say, if it's food or a cigarette, deep breathing can get your mind off it. Doesn't mean the addiction is going to go away, but it can help. So they're just some of the benefits of breathing, of what breathing can do. And here's another thing, guys. A lot of people think that it's oxygen. Oxygen is needed to help you breathe. That's how we breathe. Everyone thinks that it's oxygen. It's not true at all, guys. It's actually CO2, carbon dioxide, is actually what the brain needs to breathe. CO2 signals the brain to breathe. Without CO2, we wouldn't breathe. We wouldn't be able to breathe. That's why CO2 is important. You hear of CO2 and people are like, oh, it's like it's not good and all this stuff. That's not true at all. CO2 is needed for you to breathe. Yes, oxygen is what we breathe in. Oxygen is what we breathe in. CO2 is what we breathe out. So then you're like thinking, how is it CO2? How is it CO2 that needs to signal our brain first for it to breathe? But we actually breathe in oxygen, so we don't have CO2. Well, we do. We have buildups of CO2 in our body, and that's what signals our brain to breathe. So CO2 is, if not, I was going to say as important, but if not more important than oxygen. All right, guys. Hopefully this can help someone out there today that feels like stressful or is feeling anxious. Just look into this deep breathing. Look into different breathing techniques, nasal breathing, cadence and apnea work of what the free divers use. That's what I use. Cadence and apnea breathing protocols. I won't go down that road because I could talk about it for the next hour. But here's just one little tip that can help today. I shared a lot, but here's just one little thing that can help. Every so often, maybe every hour, you don't have to time it, but maybe every couple of hours, just stop and realize your breath, realize your breathing, take notice. Because as soon as you take notice, and when you start to take notice of your breath, that's when you can start to control your breath and to manipulate it in a way that's going to benefit you. All right, guys, hopefully this can help someone out there today, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace, guys.